Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Cloud Conversations with me, Peter Rising. I have the pleasure of being your host once again this week as we take another look at compliance and Microsoft 365 Advanced eDiscovery. We had part one last week. If you are watching this video and you've not watched part one yet, please check out the link to part one down below. Pause this, go and watch part one, come back. This will make a lot more sense. But this is going to be part two, and a lot has changed in a week. A week is a long time in the world of Microsoft 365. I did give a little warning at the start of last week's video that the content in any demos relating to Microsoft 365 are only good for a certain period of time, and boy, did that turn out to be true in this case, because Microsoft have had a massive rebranding since episode one. Advanced eDiscovery is no longer called Advanced eDiscovery. We'll get into all that before we pick up where we left off with last week's episode. You might recall, just a very quick recap, that we looked at what was called Advanced eDiscovery, and we set up a case. We added a collection, and we committed that collection to a review set. Where does that leave us now? Let's start sharing my screen, and I can explain to you first and foremost what has changed, so we know what everything is called now, its new names. And then we can get into whatever, lost my train of thought there as I was adding. There we go. We've got the compliance manager up there. Then we can get into where we left off last week and see what we can do with the collection that we committed and the results in the review set. So without any further ado, what have we got here? What has changed? This is our compliance center. It's still reachable at compliance.microsoft.com. You'll notice now that at the top, though, it's called Microsoft Purview, and Microsoft have rebranded a lot of the content within the Compliance Center. Microsoft Compliance is now really known as Microsoft Purview Compliance. So some examples of things that have changed. If we scroll down here, we can take a look at, well, eDiscovery is what we're interested in. So we've got that open already. eDiscovery is still called eDiscovery, but what was known as Core eDiscovery is now called eDiscovery Standard. What was Advanced eDiscovery is now known as eDiscovery Premium, and these are all under the Purview banner now as well. There is a Purview website with this announcement, and there's a lovely graphic on there which will show you all of the product name changes, what they were called on the left, what they're now called on the right. I'll put that in the link to this video as well, so you can go and take a look and see all of the changes. Another example, another big example in here of something that has changed name is what used to be called information governance is now called data lifecycle management. So if you click on there, you're going to see all the familiar things in here that you would expect to see under the information governance area as was. Things like retention policies and labels, adaptive scopes, the import, archive features, and so on and so forth. So a couple of examples there for you before we get into the weeds of part two of our demonstration on what we are now calling eDiscovery Premium. Let's get into it. So if we click on to eDiscovery Premium, we've got our new naming convention there, as we can see, but our case is still there. It's not affected the fact that we had a case created. You might remember we created this Mark 8 project case, and there it is. So we can click right into that, and let's see where we got to. I'm going to collapse that sidebar so we can see more of the screen, and you can see since episode one of this demo we've got some details in here in our overview. We can see that we've got two custodians reported there now. The custodians that we set up, you might remember, were Adele Vance and Megan Bowen, two very favorite demo guinea pigs, shall we say, and that those custodians have got their content put on hold as well. We've got a communication summary over here as well, and it's telling us that 2 notices have been sent, but no notices have been acknowledged yet. We'll get into the communication section a little bit in this demo and show you what that means and what we can do about that and how it all relates. We get some recent job status here. We can see prepping search preview and estimates. We can see adding data to a review set. The eagle-eyed amongst you will notice that that is there twice. Now, there's a very good reason for that. And that's where we'll begin with this particular video. And that you will recall from part one, I did mention that I specifically wanted to show you in the results in the review set how it can capture Teams chat and channel conversations in conversation context view. When I submitted the first review set, the first collection to our review set, shall we say, I took a look at that to see what it brought back, and it didn't bring back any Teams conversations, which I particularly wanted to show you. So what I had to do was I had to go back in and add another collection. I'll take that back even further a step. What I had to do was I had to log in as our custodians to Teams. So I logged in on different browsers as Adele Vance and as Megan Bowen to teams.microsoft.com, and I went in and I generated a chat between those two individuals, and I talked about Mark 8 and I talked about X1050, which were the search criteria that I wanted our collection to look for. So generated that conversation. And what I had to do was I had to go and do another collection here. You'll remember last week we did this Mark 8 project search collection, but it's not a simple matter. If I want to, I went very Geordie there, matter. It's not a simple matter. Geordie, for international viewers, is a region of the northeast of England, which is where I'm from. The city of Newcastle upon Tyne is the Geordie dialect, which I speak. When I get excited, I sort of lapse into it a bit, but I digress. But Mark 8 project search, you'll notice if we click on this collection, we get a summary and we get information on the data sources and the search statistics. There are some actions we can take with that collection, but we cannot manipulate that. We cannot edit that or change that. I can export it as a report and I can copy the collection if I want to, and I can review a sample, but I can't add to it. So what I had to do was I had to go in and I had to add further search criteria in a new collection. And I've given that a very inventive name, as you can see here, but it does describe what I wanted it to do, adding further search criteria for Teams messages in this case. Now, I can't show you what I did in this one either, because it shows you here the query text was, again, Mark 8 and X1050, and this was a few days after that initial collection, and it was then hopefully going to pick up that additional content. Let's just simulate what I did there by going into a new collection and show you what I did to get that. I'll just call this example just to demonstrate the process. I selected all the custodians again. We wanted to select Adele and Megan as custodians. I didn't select any additional locations or non-custodial locations in this case. I put in our search criteria here again, the X1050 and the Mark 8. And I didn't add any conditions. So what I was able to do here is I wanted to add these items to a review set. Now, the great thing that you can do here is you could have added this to an entirely new review set, but I didn't want to do that. I wanted to add this to an existing review set. I wanted to add this into my Mark 8 search review set and merge that in to the results of that review set. So that's what I selected. I went through the process, next, finish, and set that away. So I'll not do another one. We'll leave that there. And that brings you up to date with the extra steps I took in between video number 1 and video number 2. Let's take a look at the review set. How do we know that that review set is good to go, that it's ready to be looked at? Because it can take a bit of time for a review set to be successful and complete and ready to look at and manipulate. If we click on the Jobs tab here at the end, we can see the status of these review sets. We can see the 2 occasions where we committed data to that review set, and we can see that it was successful on each occasion and it had a created and completed time frame. Not a great deal of time in either of these actions because we're dealing with a demo tenant here and a very small amount of data. But bear in mind that in real production environments, in real organizational scenarios, these review set commits can take a great deal of time. So do be patient when you're when you're going through that process. Okay, so let's go back into our review set here and see what we have got. And we can see, here we go, we've got our review set. Its name, its size, created by the admin user, the global administrator that I'm using, and modification statistics there as well. I can click onto my review set here to open it, and we just have to be patient for a moment. It says loading here at the top. Sometimes that's not obvious that it's doing anything, and it takes a few moments to get in. And here we go. We've got some results, which is absolutely amazing. And we've got a lot of different types of results here. So we can apply filters here and filter by the sort of results that we want to see here. We've got a lot of built-in filters here at the top here, and we can apply those by clicking on the drop down. So we can put in keywords that we want to call out. So contains any of or equals any of. So I could quite easily put in my Mark 8 or my X1050 here, but this is not an exhaustive list, so I don't think I need to put any filters in there based on that. I can filter by date as well, start date and end date if I need to. And on larger results, I can filter by author as well. Now we could do this here just as an example. Actually, we can filter by Megan Bowen, and we can filter by Adele Vance as well. In fact, this filter here is for Adele and Megan as the custodians. So let's take a look and see what that does for our view. That's loading. It really looks like it's not doing anything. It's quite well hidden, that loading. So there we go. So I think we've got a few less results there. Yeah, it's taken some of them out. We're down to some email results here, whereas we had some PowerPoint in there and some documents. So we filtered things down a little bit. And here now we can get a quicker access to our conversation view from the Teams chat that I set up between Megan and Adele. So here we are. We can drill down and we can actually see that conversation. If we highlight that, we're going to get that over here on the right. We can expand that out to get more real estate on the screen, and we can see this conversation here. It started with Adele saying, "Hey Megan, how are we going on the Mark 8 project? And are things progressing okay with X1050?" And Megan replies, "Yeah, hey Adele, we got some great feedback on Mark 8 in general and X1050 in particular. So good to hear, Megan. Let's get the team together soon to discuss the lesson learned so far." You'll notice on these threads here, I'm not mentioning the keywords. I've deliberately left the keywords out for a couple of threads in the chat. But then I've, on the last chat reply from Adele here, I've called out those keywords search item again. And that demonstrates that these conversation views, they will display keywords by proximity within these conversations as well. So this is awesome. We've got a conversation view there that we can look at, and we've got some actions we can take on that. We can tag within here. We can put a tag on this conversation. So we can select to tag the selected items, 1 plus conversation items, or we can tag all items in the list, 33 plus conversation items. We can expand the selection to include associated conversation items or included associated family items, or we can just select that to none if we need to. And then we can assign tags as required. So we need to create and edit tags here before we can apply any, of course, because that's grayed out at the moment. So we could go in and add a tag. We can add a section or add a smart group tag, and that's fairly straightforward. I don't want to get into the weeds of that on this particular demo and get down too many rabbit holes, but that just gives you an idea of how tagging can work, so you can tag some of these search results. We're in the source view here. We can also look at this in the plain text view as well, so we can get that in the absolute plain text view there as well, if that is required for any reason. I'll jump to the metadata one here as well. The last one on the right here is the metadata view. We can see all the metadata here on this conversation, if it's relevant to our search as well. So, and we can tag from here also. which is also very useful. Now, one of the great things you can do on items within Advanced eDiscovery, I do still want to call it that, within an eDiscovery Premium review set, is we can annotate items within. So this is absolutely great. We can go in and we can annotate content. And we've got lots of options here. We can select annotations. We can select a bunch of text. So if I want to select this text here, for example, there we go. It's very sensitive. There we go. So now I've selected that text. What I can do is I can do certain actions here. I can do an area redaction. I can color, I can pencil, I can remove any drawings on the page or remove any drawings in the whole document. So what I might want to do is an area redaction here, now that I've selected that. And there we go. It's a little fiddly, but there you go. Not such a great example. I don't think I can I manipulate that? Yeah, I can do it twice, but I didn't do that very neatly, as you say. So we can redact, we can do all sorts of good stuff there within the annotation section. We can also toggle the annotation transparency as well, which is pretty cool. So we can see through that as a transparency if we need to do so. So awesome, the sort of stuff we can do with our results here. So what options have we got here? On the top bar as well, there are some additional options here. We can download the original of this. So if we click download, it downloads that to an HTML file. So let's just see if we can open that. And there we go. Right, open right away. In fact, am I seeing that? Let me just. No, I'm not. This is StreamYard being. Let me just switch over to that so you can see it. Share this tab instead, and there you go. You're seeing it now. Awesome. Okay, so let me go back, and I'll go back to the. To the original view. There we go, we're back. Sharing over this StreamYard platform that we use is not particularly instinctive at times. It's not an exact science, shall we say, but we managed it. I just had to check that you were seeing what I was seeing. Awesome stuff. So we've downloaded that. We were able to see that in another tab. What other options do we have here? So let's take a wee look at the other options. So more actions here. We can download the original. We can download it as a PDF. We can tag files again from here. Just another way of getting to the same sort of content. There are a lot of things that you can do from here. So very, very powerful stuff. If we just pull that along again, what we can also do is look at some of the actions that we have across this bar here. So we can get an overview of, and this is review set specific. It has two load sets. So a load set is a collection of documents added into the review set. That's expected because we did two collections and put them into that review set. So that's our summary view of the whole review set, despite the fact we've got this specific conversation selected. There's some analytics that we can perform here. We can run document and email analytics on our review set. If we do, we can go ahead and do that. It will tell you that it's going to take some time. Are you sure? Yep, we'll go ahead and do that, and that will go ahead and create a job in the job section of the case. So we can check back on that and see what that does a bit later on. So email analytics, that's underway. We've got show reports as well, so we can go into here and we can see there was a problem analyzing the review set. We've got to check the jobs tab for details. So we'd expect that at this stage because we've got nothing to see just yet. We've committed that analytics, so we're not expecting to see anything in there just yet. So that's analytics there. We've got some actions here that we can take as well. We can export the content here. So we can do an export. So we can do, let's just do this, export one, we'll call it inventively. We, uh, we don't have to put a description in. So what you can do is you've got some choices here on what you want to export. You can export selected documents only, or all filtered documents, or all documents in the review set. And then you've got some output options here on how you want to present that output. So report only, or loose files and PST files. Where email results are present, you'll get those added to PSTs where possible. You can go for a condensed directory structure, or a condensed directory structure exported to an Azure storage account, where you can put the details in there. And you get some options there on what you want to include, tags, text files, or replace redacted natives with converted PDFs. So we could do that for selected documents only on this particular example. And let's, for this example, go for report only. We'll go ahead and export that, and see what we've got. So other options in here, we can commit any redactions that we've got. There we go, a job is created for that. I'm getting ahead of myself. So we can look at the jobs in a minute and see what's going on with those. Other actions we can take, commit the redactions that we've got to a PDF, so we can go ahead and do that. We can save our redactions. Yep, let's go ahead and do that. A job has been created. We're creating lots of jobs here, so you can see all the sort of stuff we can do with these actions here. And then we can go ahead and we can add things to other review sets as well. I mean, we don't have another review set yet, but if we did, there we go. It's even telling us we can't find another one, so please create a new one first. So it's doing its job. It knows that there are no other review sets in this eDiscovery brackets premium, close brackets case. Very precise. So there we go. Awesome stuff. We've got tag files here again at the on the top bar. So here you can get to the tag files option a number of different ways, which is very like Microsoft, to give you lots of different ways to get to the same content. And here we've got a manage section as well. So there's options here to manage load sets. So let's take a look at that. We can go and see our load sets there. We can download the list. We can refresh the list. We can get some statistics on those load sets, but can't really manipulate them, shall we say? And then we can look at tags, so we can see if there are any tags there, which there aren't just yet because we haven't created any. And we can look at non-Office 365 data as well. I'll shy away from that one because that's probably a future episode on its own, talking about non-Office 365 data. And here we can also look at search profile view as well, which is going to give us a nice little breakdown query here, which we can save and we can filter with some statistics here of items within a pie chart and a bar chart and some other statistics there. So all good stuff. I'm keeping this, as you can probably tell, deliberately high level because I don't want to get too far into the weeds of individual subjects as we go through eDiscovery Premium in the context of this review set results. I want to give you a very, very quick high level overview of the sort of thing that you can expect. And then, of course, you can refresh the content as well. And there we go. All good stuff. So we clicked on that conversation view. We can just as easily select some other items and take a look at those as well. So we can take a look at this email view here, and it's going to give us a lot of good information on the email. We can see exactly what that way was, a Teams invite, in fact. So there we go. An invitation from Megan to some other individuals for a UX sync there. So absolutely brilliant stuff. Now, there is an option here to change the view. So you can group by Teams or Yammer conversations as well. And that's what we got selected at the minute. So it's going to give us that drop-down view of those Teams conversations that I showed you earlier, but we can group it by family attachments as well. And what that means is, and see if we can get a good example of this. There may or may not be one actually. I do have that filter. Let me take that filter off and see if that changes things a little bit. But with family attachments as the view there, then what you should be able to see is some drop downs of emails. Here we go. This will be an example of that. So we can see that we've got an email and an attachment there in that view, whereas now the conversation is no longer expandable. So that's the distinction there. That's the difference that you're going to get there, and that you don't get that contextual view for that. So very cool stuff indeed. So you can switch that off altogether. So it's very plain view, or you can I like to have it on the Teams and Yammer ones as a general rule of thumb, because that's the sort of searches that I tend to do for demos, shall we say, because I'm not actually a compliance administrator. I'm not actually the person who will do this job. So bear in mind, put yourself in those shoes, in terms of thinking about these views and how you want them to look. Okay, so there we go. That is a look at the review set results. We took some actions while we were in that review set. So let's go into the jobs and see what that looks like. What's happening here? Have we got anything going on? We've got some things in progress. So we've got running analytics, which is currently in progress. So it's going through some items to analyze. It's looking for near duplicates and email threading and attorney-client privilege and all that sort of good stuff. That's still in progress. We're also preparing a data for export as well. So that's in progress still also. It may be that takes such an amount of time that we need to come back and have a look at the results of that in another session. I'm sure there'll be a few sessions on the topic of eDiscovery Premium. By the time we get to the end of it, they'll probably have renamed it again. I don't joke, actually, but let's hope not. So watch out for the jobs. It does seem to have failed on this converting redacted documents to PDF for some reason. So we can take a look at that and let's see if we can get any ideas as to why that has been the case. You can copy support information on that. I'm not going to go down a rabbit warren. We'll come back to that in the future as well. But it's just a good example of the fact that these things are going to happen. You are going to see failures. You're going to have to dig in and look at things and go back and tweak and get the results that you need. So there you go. That shows us the review set results. That also shows us a little bit of the jobs. Now, the other thing I wanted to show you in this particular session in part 2 was the communications section. You'll remember when I was in the overview section that we had some statistics there on the overview of communications that had been sent to the users. So let's take a look and see what that looks like. Now, what you have to do is you have to set up communications. So I set one up here for Mark 8 Comms. Let's go and take a look and see what that involved. So a quick look at it. We're showing that we've got our custodians in here who have been sent notifications on the fact that they are custodians in this eDiscovery case. They have to acknowledge that and be aware that they have content that is on hold and that this case is in progress. So here we can download that communication actually and see what it looked like. So here's what it looks like to the end user's perspective. So the name is Mark 8 Comms. The issuing officer is who I'm logged in as. That's who I selected as the issuing officer. The content, it's a hold notice, and you can configure fields to what you want to be included in the email that the recipient will receive. The custodians, that the hold is there. We can see it's not being acknowledged just yet. The issuance. What we've got an issuance here for all custodians. We have a reminder, which is currently disabled at this point in time. And then the third step is the release of that. The final step will be the release of the content. The case has now been released and is completed. There's also a couple more stages of communication. If the communication is not acknowledged by the recipients, then it can be escalated to a manager who can then be involved and can say to Adele and or Megan, hey, you need to acknowledge this. Please go and take care of it and respond to it. And then there's a reissuance as well, which can be sent out as a reminder. So these are the stages of the communication that can be put into place. We can edit here. We can see. Let's take a sip of coffee there. The communication that I set up there. So this is where I set up all of the fields that you wanted to put into the email that will be sent. So just display a name, click here to acknowledge this notice, go to the custodian portal, the issuing officer, the issuing date. And this is where we set the the required notifications. So what we saw in the highlight there just a few moments ago, this is where this is all set up: the issuance, the reissue, the release, and then next the optional notifications for a reminder and the escalation and the intervals you want to put in place for that process. So there's a lot of good options here that you can configure for this process. So you've got a lot of control over when the custodians are informed and what that's going to look like. And if they don't respond in a timely fashion, then it can be escalated and so on and so forth. So really good stuff. These are the custodians that I selected for that, and you get to review your settings, and there you go. So absolutely awesome stuff. Now, just trying to think if I can show you what that looks like in terms of the user experience. I don't have one of those custodians open at just the moment, but if I come out of this particular case, and if I go into let me just see if I go into, yeah, here we go. Into the, I'll just go back a level just to explain it. eDiscovery Premium settings outside of the cases, the communication library is key to this process as well. You have to set this up before you can issue communications. So you can create a new communication template here and set everything that is required. So without doing this step, I should have showed you this first, then the bit that we've just seen doesn't happen. So let's click on this one and edit this, and you can see that inventively as ever, I've called it test. If we click on next, this is where I defined all of this, these fields. So define the content of your hold notice here, and this is what's going to be emailed to your custodians and be made accessible through their personal custodian portal. So they can click to acknowledge this notice. They will then be able to get to a personalized custodian portal. They're not going to be having the same right as the people setting up this case. They're going to have a very sort of personalized access to this area to see only what they need to see. And after assigning custodians to this notice, yeah, you're also able to create and send templated emails to improve the response rates and ensure that your custodians have the most up-to-date information. And here we go. This is where I defined all of these settings here. These can be quite tricky to set up. There are certain fields that you have to fill in before you can proceed. So it won't let you move on until you've fulfilled all of the red asterisks, shall we say. Here's the optional ones, which are good ones to have in from terms of escalations and reminders. So there we go. They need to be set up before you can go ahead and do those communications. So there we go. That's a little bit of an update on eDiscovery Premium. I'm going to take some getting used to that, I have to admit to you all. So if we go back in one more time to the overview of this case, let's just have one more wee look in the jobs and see if anything is happening. So okay, here we go. We've got prepping data for export and we've got running analytics are both successful now. So let's finish off by seeing what we have got. Let's have a look at our exports. So here we go. We've got an export in here now. So let's take a look in here. We've got our download list. What can we do with this? Let's take a wee look. We can select our export. We can see that we've got a summary in there and a folder. We can go and download that and it will download for us, or it should do. Not sure if I clicked on that effectively. Not quite sure what I'm missing there or why that's not doing it. It's the fact that I haven't selected it. There you go. Let's try that again. Let's try that again. And still nothing happens. That's oh no, we're getting what it's doing now, if you can't see, is it's actually opening a whole bunch of other tabs because I've actually been really impatient. Let me just see if you can actually, no, you can't see that because of the way I'm sharing, but that's what's happened. I've got a bunch of tabs open now where it's opening up that download, and I've actually got my summary CSV file now, which I can open up and I can see the contents of that. And you can get all your export contents. I'll not go through the motions of trying to share that with you because it's just such a faff on to do that. But hopefully it gives you an idea of how to get your exports. So what was the other job we did? Obviously we had the failure on the converting redacted documents to PDF. We had the running analytics as well. So now, if we go back into, I don't want to go back to cases. I was already in the case. I want to go back to my review sets and into my review set again. And what we did was yeah, this changes now. What we can do now is we've got the document and email analytics. Now, prior to running that, this top one here was grayed out. So we can add to that. We can add new documents to analytics now that we've got that. So we can go ahead and do that. And it goes ahead and it creates an incremental job to add any changes that you've done to your review sets in that period of time. So that's an available action now. Now, what we wrong bit. What I should hopefully now be able to do is click on show analytics. Now this may have happened again because I've just gone ahead and run that incremental one. So that's very likely why I can't go in and view that report. So I should have clicked that one before doing the incremental one for you. But there you go. Hopefully that gives you the gist of the process in terms of looking at your review set and some of the actions that you can take and the exports and all that lovely good stuff. So awesome. I am going to stop sharing my screen now because I think that is enough for this particular session. So let's stop the old screen sharing and awesome stuff. It really is so powerful, isn't it? eDiscovery Premium. So get used to the new naming convention. We've got Microsoft Purview now for compliance. We've got eDiscovery Premium. We've got lots of renames to get used to. And as I say, I'll put all of the details in the descriptions on this video for you to take a look at and digest and process. So I hope you found that useful. I will be back again at some point in the coming weeks with more videos on eDiscovery Premium. We'll take a look at some of the more drilled down sections now that we've had a very high level look at setting up a collection and a review set and doing some filtering and exporting and whatnot. So we'll do another one of these to drill down even further and show you more good stuff. But I do hope you've enjoyed it. Next week on Cloud Conversations, we will be back with some guests. You'll not be stuck with only me. There will be a flavor of Kat and Azure and Rue and myself back. I can't remember who it is on the upcoming episodes, but stay tuned. Watch out on youtube.com/c/cloud conversations. Please give us a like and a subscribe. It's really appreciated. Please talk to us on Twitter. You can find us at CloudCons365 on Twitter. I'm M365 Rising on Twitter, and you can find Azure and Kat and Rue on Twitter as well. And we're all on LinkedIn. We're not hard to find. We're always happy to hear from you, our listeners and viewers, and happy to take any questions. And if you want to be on the show, let us know. We're always keen to talk to anyone in the community and hear your stories and share your experiences. So thank you so much. I've been Peter Rising, your host for today. It's been a pleasure as always. I will leave it there. I'll catch you all down the road. Take care. Bye.